Welcome, adventurers! You've made it to the Wind Down, the live stream at the end of the Geekverse. It's a chill place to hang out here as the sun sets on another day. We're here to have a little chat, reflect on the day's successes, and prepare for a better tomorrow. So settle in with your favorite beverage this evening.
May I tempt you with a cup of chamomile?
Why, thank you, Dory. I would love a mug of tea this evening, but perhaps you would rather have some coffee, though I do recommend decaf this late in the evening. Or perhaps maybe a cold brew is more your style.
Oh, no, thank you, Dory. A little red wine. For me, Isaac.
Sounds like an excellent choice, Gandalf. Whatever you want, it's yours. Could I offer you a bourbon, a martini, an old-fashioned, or something perhaps a little stronger? Ugh, well, I mean, if that's really your thing, then okay, but I hope we can find something a bit better than that.
Romulan ale. Why, Bones, you know this is illegal.
I only use it for medicinal purposes.
All right, now we're talking. I'm Heath, and I'll be your host. Welcome to my home. Come one, come all, writers, artists, sculptors, storytellers, board gamers, streamers, dungeon masters, fans of sci-fi, fantasy, geeks of all kinds. Whatever your fandom, you have a place here. For soon it will be time for another long rest so that we can recover our hit points, our spells, and our abilities, so we'll be ready to fight on for another day tomorrow. But first, we all need a little time to reflect. Because you've survived another long, perilous day of wilderness treks, dungeoneering, and random encounters. And that's worth celebrating. Let's tell the tale. It's time for the Wind Down. It will improve your life. It really will. Give it a chance. Here we go. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Wind Down. It has been a long time since we have done a wind down stream in the evenings, and so here it's pretty new still in 2026. Why don't we give it a try? So welcome to my home, welcome to the office, and welcome to the wind down. We're going to be creating some OSE character classes tonight for any type of Celtic adventure you might be inspired to run, but then also specifically for the Tales of Rabavania. And I have some different ways that I want to talk about how we're going to perhaps put some different things out. But, you know, I had been talking about in December that I was thinking about changing up the different times that I stream. Because I had gotten to just 2 days a week on Wednesday morning and Sunday morning, and it had just been it had been just because of my changing schedule off of stream, it had become kind of more difficult for me to make the Sunday morning streams anyway. And I had been talking about potentially moving to an evening stream. And this morning when I woke up, because my Saturday, there's a lot going on Saturday, and especially Saturday night, so it's an evening. So it just gotten difficult for me to get to a Sunday morning stream. So I was like, hey, why don't we just try moving the stream to this evening? So I'm thinking about moving around the streaming times. There may be more evening streams coming up, and we'll lock down kind of a time. This is a bit later than I probably stream, but so I'm just saying that's probably coming up. Think about, we might be doing more evening streams. So here we are for the wind down. So yes, so this is the wind down. I don't have wine tonight, but I do have a beverage with me. So my witch's brew here. So hopefully you also have your favorite streams. This may be lightly tonight. We have 6 people here already, so that's fantastic. I said, well, maybe especially since it was so late breaking, there might not even be anyone who is here, but there are. So Shell Mel says, hey, I get to make an evening stream for a live show. So that's fantastic. Exactly. Better with Bacon is here. Let's see. Brett is here. Welcome. Stray is here. The great old ones are here. So, all right. Yes, this is going pretty well. So, like I said, so we're in an adjustment period. This is an adjustment period, but there's a lot that I want to do in 2026, and perhaps an adjusted streaming schedule is part of that, because there's a lot I want to make, and we're going to be making stuff on stream. But first, I do have an announcement that I want to make to everybody, and it involves the Cultist Kickstarter. The Cultist Kickstarter campaign is basically the last kind of vestige of an old project that had been, in development and needs to get off the plate, that's kind of lingering into 2026. We were trying to get all of that out in 2025, but was a bit, the printing took a bit longer than I wanted. But Friday afternoon, when I came home, guess what was sitting on my porch? And I haven't even updated the Kickstarter yet. I meant to write a Kickstarter update this afternoon, but my cousin invited me over for lunch and we played board games before I came back home. So tomorrow, I'll have to write the Kickstarter update tomorrow. But I got this box in. Oh, here's this box right here. So this box came in. This is not everything we need to finish the Kickstarter campaign because it said they were going to be shipping the books that I ordered in 2 shipments. So there's another shipment that's going to be coming in. But I got part of the shipment here. So, like, here it is. Like, that is the Cultist RPG hardback book. Look, I got more of them right here. That's 3. I don't know what the other one was. But okay, so Cultist RPG hardback books. I got more of them right here. I got more of them right here. So that means that starting tomorrow, I am going to start going through all of the Kickstarter pledges. I've got everything kind of laid out, all of the other shirts, everything else laid out in the room in there. And now I have hardback books. More are coming. To fulfill the Kickstarter campaign. So this is here. So that's going to start. I will post an update tomorrow, and then I will start working through. There are lots of hardback books in here. Remember that I gave everybody a free upgrade on the Kickstarter from the softback. Here's the softback version of the book. Gave everybody a free upgrade to the hardback book, which I think is really nice. So that's what's going to start getting stacked up. Update tomorrow and shipping. So that will take some of the time. So some creative time will be spent actually shipping. But that's okay. What do they say? Real artists ship. Real artists ship. So the books are here now. So we're going to start shipping. So there we go. I am excited about that. So is there anything else? I'll tell you what I played this afternoon. Went over to Megan's house, my cousin. She cooked a white chili, and then we all played 2 different games. I didn't even get to send this out to the Discord server. We played, wait, what is this? Books look good? Yes, they look really good. I'm really happy about them. It took a bit longer to get the proofs right than I wanted. So instead of shipping in December, we're shipping in January, but that's still pretty good for a Kickstarter. But it was because the books, I wanted to be sure that everything was right with the books. So now everything they're here and now they can ship. So worth a few weeks delay. Wait, what's the name of this game? So I played, I was texting my brother about this because he was not there. Have you ever played the Grimwood? Okay, that was it. They said, you got to play the Grimwood. They had this game called the Grimwood. Hey, let me see if I can look this up. It's apparently difficult to get, but while we're talking about board gaming here and stuff like that, our main topic is going to be OSE development. But the Grimwood game, yeah, I'll put it up on the screen for you. Let's see about this. Let me stop sharing this. But has anybody played this? I recommend this game. Apparently, it's hard to get now. They had rented it from the library and enjoyed it. And because this is Megan and her husband had enjoyed it so much, they bought a copy off of something else. But this is a card game. I do highly recommend it. I highly recommend this game. It's a lightweight game. I mean, it only takes a few minutes to play. The entire rules of the game are on the front and back of one of the cards. Like, that's how the game comes. It's just a pack of cards. So it's a deck of cards. The rules are on a single card, front and back, that everybody can get. So you get, you're not sitting there explaining rules for everybody forever. So they said it was difficult to get, but if I could find a copy, I would definitely add it to my gaming library. This is information. I wish, I don't know why why they have a video going. Here, let me just turn that off. There we go. Now I don't have to listen to that. Well, I thought. There we go. Okay, so turned off temporarily. This says for the Grimwood, Grimwood is a highly chaotic, slightly strategic game of competition and sabotage. Players take turns drawing or stealing cards to make the highest scoring combination to win the game. The deck is made up of 68 cards that can help you or hurt others. Draw from the deck, steal from other players, and unleash the powers of your supernaturals to get the most points. There's only a limited number of times to make your moves, though, because the game ends when the last card is drawn. The deck goes quicker than you might think. So shuffle and deal deal 3 cards to each player face down. Place the remaining cards face down in the middle of the table. Players may now look at their cards. Every turn, the player can play a supernatural card, like the sorceress here, or the centaur, or whatever, and or place one or more animals or setting combos. Each turn ends with the player drawing from the deck or stealing a card from other players' hands. And then so you go around the table basically like that, drawing cards or stealing one from another player, playing your supernatural creatures, trying to make combos, and at the end of the game, you count up points. So if you've got this one, or looking for a game like this, if you can find it, apparently this does say buy now on Amazon. It's one I would definitely add to my collection. So enjoyed it. If you have an opportunity, I would play. So we played this a couple of times, and then we played Exploding Kittens. They had a copy of Exploding Kittens, and so we played Exploding Kittens as well. So had a great time this afternoon. It was, sometimes there are times to play great long board games, and they had checked out Mansions of Madness from the library. Of course, I own Mansions of Madness. I really want to play Mansions of Madness with my nephews, and then also they want to come over and play as well. My cousins do. So we're going to have Mansions of Madness soon. But sometimes, there's a time to play Mansions of Madness, and there's a time to play something like this is the Grimwood and Exploding Kittens. And today was a lightweight kind of day. And then I did also get a message from my brother because I gave my nephews for Christmas Rebellion, the Star Wars game Rebellion, and the youngest one, the 7-year-old, is the 8 now. 7 or 8-year-old. My brother sent me a picture of the youngest nephew in his blanket on the couch with the Rebellion rules. So he was reading through, and then he sent me a picture later on. He was like, yeah, he and I were trying to figure out how to play, just going through all the rules. And of course, there's like a billion pieces of cardboard on the table with all the Star Wars miniatures of, Imperial Star Destroyers and, all that kind of stuff out there on the table. So how many players for Grimwood? We were playing with 5. Does this say on here? How many players? We were playing with 5. You probably could have played with more. Let's see if you would think that would say that someplace. Maybe it says on Board Game Geek. No, Board Game Geek says that the Grimwood plays for 2 to 6 players and is 30 to 60 minutes. Our games didn't take 60 minutes. They were probably closer to 30 minutes. So, okay. I already took it down. But yeah, Board Game Geek says 2 to 6 players, 30 to 60 minutes. Pick it up. And then, of course, we also had a fantastic time with Exploding Kittens. 2 to 6, just looked it up. Always hunting 1 to suit 7. Have a large playing group. That's often how we are too. A few of our people were not able to make it today. Well, this was actually, I went over today because ordinarily we play on New Year's Eve with the family, but people were sick and we weren't able to get together New Year's Eve. So we just got together this weekend, or this afternoon, and played. But yeah, often we like games that are like 7 players, whatever, because there are so many people who want to play. Okay, so what are we doing today? Let's bring up some OSE documents. So now what we are making here, let's see, let's chill for a moment. what I've been trying to do is match a story with a RPG. And we did that last year in the very intense way it took to create the cultists' stories. So great. Old one says, coincidentally, on Sundays, I frequently run an OSE one-shot. Not enough players for tonight. Oh, well, perfect. I'm glad I'm here tonight. I've been trying to pair storytelling with the RPGs. So last year with the Cultist RPG, we've got the Cultist web series that's out on the Cultist channel. And then now we have finally got, the Cultist RPG printed. Now I want to move on to Rabavania, but we're also going to talk about this in the context of not only Rabavania, the mythological world of rabbits and the OSE, but like how could you use this also for just general Celtic kinds of characters? And I think what we need to do, if you're trying to do like a Celtic OSE kind of thing, think about the character class from that perspective and then also rabbitize it for Rabavania. And I think, I was thinking about this the other day, what we might want to do is release the standard Celtic kind of versions on Drive-Thru RPG and on the Ravenkeep website and things like that. Because why not? Why not have a standard kind of Celtic version of this and then also then use that version to adjust for the rabbits, So that's kind of what I'm thinking. So there could be a lot of stuff to put out, but we had already done a tremendous amount of work, if you've been with us on the morning grind, working on the rabbit world primer for the main timeline, what I call the main timeline, the main storyline. We talked about the difference between storyline and timeline. But I've got no story ready for that because I keep missing. I got a whole bunch of RPG material written for the 12th century rabbit knights, but no story yet, even though I've thought a lot about it, no story. For the mythological Celtic rabbits in that storyline, I just finished the first 5 chapters and I've decided to serialize its release. I have that material out for beta readers. My cousin was one of the beta readers. She sent me material in. But I don't have nearly as much RPG material. So I've got to write some RPG material. Eventually, we're going to get these things paired together. Let's see. The Celts should be organized around cattle and sheep. So what is, or the rabbit-sized analogs? What is it that would be, because I agree, like a cattle raid or a sheep raid, but what is the equivalent of the rabbit that? We got to think about that. I don't know. Real quick, how much is the hardcover for the Cultist tabletop RPG going to be on the market after the Kickstarter? I don't know. What I had been thinking, so this is important info, that as we continue to go forward, my thought was that I would not put the hardcover of the Cultist RPG on Ravenkeep.net. The Ravenkeep.net's where I've been, home base. And my thinking was that, okay, the hardback version of that needs to be special just for people who are on the crowdfunding campaigns. And so I bought a few soft covers of this as well to put the soft cover copies on Ravenkeep.net after the Kickstarter is fulfilled. But if you missed it, I don't want you to not be able to get the hardcover copy. I just think that the next opportunity to get the hardcover copy of the Cultist RPG needs to be on the next Kickstarter that I run, which I'm thinking the next Kickstarter that I run will need to be for our Celtic rabbits here and the story in that RPG. So if you want a hardcover copy of the Cultist RPG, then the soft cover will be on Ravenkeep.net, but that if you come into the next Kickstarter, then the hardcover will be there for you and it will fulfill with that Kickstarter. That's kind of the thing that I'm thinking about. Haven't completely locked that down, and I don't know the pricing. Just because I forget. I ordered it, but I don't remember the pricing. So that'll be put on the next Kickstarter. That's how I'm thinking that will go. And the same kind of way so now I'm thinking that if we do this Celtic Rabbit RPG, we'll do the hardcovers on the Kickstarter and then put the soft cover on the websites. So that's what I'm kind of thinking. So that won't do like exclusive stuff like, oh my God, this is exclusive to being on this Kickstarter. At least that's my thinking right now. But there will be stuff that will be exclusive that you need to be on a Kickstarter in order to get, that I'll order for the people who are on those. Hey, Innerlight, good evening. Good evening. Well, foxes, okay, we got to talk about foxes because the foxes, are what they ride. Maybe they raid vegetable stockpiles. I think raiding that the vegetable stockpiles could be more correct, like trying to get carrots, of course, but what there was something else that I was thinking of, some type of, but yeah, the vegetables that they do. Yeah, the Project Gutenberg does, and let's use that. If there's something I should be referencing, then let's definitely do that. I had been sitting here for about an hour and a half before the stream started, and I was referencing this Celtic source book for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So this is an OSE project, old school essentials. So I was looking at this, and I was trying to cross-reference what this book said about Celtic character classes with regard to the AD&D books versus what was in the OSE book, and then from there also then trying to apply additional rabbit layer. I did read the first Clovis chapter on live stream on the Morning Grind. I think eventually, I'm not going to do one today, but eventually I'm going to read all of those here so you get kind of a feel of the world as we're going on here. But okay, so let's go. I do wanted to make a note here about the rabbits as far as your species goes. Equivalent of race, but it does seem to make a lot of sense when you're talking about a world of medieval rabbits to talk about species rather than race. So I decided to go ahead and use the word species here. So you got, mice, rabbits, that kind of stuff. But in this book, originally, I thought this would be a very thin book that's kind of like a world primer. But on the other hand, now, since this has gone on so long, and especially the world book about the 12th century rabbits has just expanded to I don't know how long. I think this one can be more robust as well. But, maybe like 98 pages. Instead of like 24 pages, maybe it's 98 pages. Maybe something like that. Because if you're going to do hardback and softback versions, it needs to be long enough that hardback, looks reasonable. And that happens to be the case. Where did I just put my over here? That happens to be the case with the way the Cultists came out. So the Cultists, this is a pretty reasonable book to be a hardback. And the reason that I decided to make it a hardback is because it came out much longer than I was expecting. This book is 110 pages, so that makes a reasonable hardback. If it's 24 pages, you don't want to make a hardback version of it. But that's why I was thinking, okay, like 98 pages would be very similar to this. That's a very reasonable RPG book. There can be a lot of material put into that, and it's thick enough that it warrants a hardcover. So I'm thinking about like 98 pages. But I'm thinking in this, it's not a full world book, so let's not do multiple kinds of races. Everybody's going to be a rabbit. Later stuff, we can introduce being a mouse or being some of the other things that are allied to rabbits, but we'll just keep the player characters rabbits here. But I'd like to add some type of flavor to that mechanically so that you feel somewhat rabbit-like and don't just feel like a human. There must be something about that. So I did make a note that, okay, so in this, I'm just this is still drafting all of this out. But that in this book, all of the player characters are assumed to be rabbits. Or not assumed to be, they are rabbits. They will be rabbits. Okay. And then you pick your class, right? But that, OSE provides two different methods of character creation, the basic character creation and the advanced character creation for the classic dungeon delving. One is race as class. Race is class. I think that should be race as class. And then one that divides race and class to allow players to mix and match a lot more like people typically, ever since maybe AD&D or whatever, look at that. Even though I've become a proponent of race as class for different reasons as we've gone on. But in this world book, basically, everybody gets the same species, but then you pick a class. but I still felt like there needed to be some stuff that we could say to make you feel like a rabbit. So obviously, I think keen hearing is one of them. So it needs to be keen hearing. So rabbits are keen of ear with omnidirectional hearing that they rely on. No, not more than sight. Still doing here. Hearing that they, with omnidirection, they heavily rely on for threat detection. OSE, Old School Essentials, already has the basic, hear noise, which is listening at doors and detecting footsteps, that is used on a roll of a D6. So 1 out of 6. I think it makes sense right here to just go ahead and boost them up to a 2 out of 6. So make that a 2 out of 6. Let's see. Oh, we got some additional information here. Better with Bacon says 100 pages seems good for hardcover. Anything with too few pages doesn't seem a good fit. Exactly. Well, the children's books are hardcover, right? The children's books are shorter, but they are, that's a different animal. Yeah, that's a different animal. They're also larger. They're entire, 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper. Squirrels will be a playable race. Squirrels will be there. Hey, RPG Gen Exile. Yeah, we were just talking about potentially changing up the streaming times in 2026. So yeah, definitely squirrels would be in there. Squirrels would be a later playable species. Yeah. But bring over, just say, okay, you got a 2 and a 6 chance to hear noises. And of course, later on, like the squirrels might not have that or whatever. But then always ready prey instincts combined with wide peripheral vision allows each character to gain a +1 bonus to initiative rolls. You got to have, jumping. I mean, to me, these are kind of, let me know what you think, but the archetypical kind of rabbit features, traits. They can hear, they need to be able to jump. So this is going to be Rabivanian feet. We wrote information in the other one that's in the other RPG book that's going to get ported over here about measuring distances. So if you see this kind of distance in like an OSE book, just convert that directly over here. Just assume that if it says feet, then let's just call that Rabivanian feet, because it's too complicated and doesn't get you anything to try to adjust all the different measurements from human size to rabbit size. If the entire thing is rabbit scale anyway, just use all measurements as they are. So can leap up to 20. This would be Rabivanian feet horizontally, or 10 Rabivanian feet vertically from a standing start. In combat, this counts as part of your movement. Okay, so you can jump. So you in a dungeon environment or something like that, you don't have to worry about ladders for distances, ladders or whatever for distances like that. And then also being able to burrow. Rabbits burrow and then use the standard speed for humans, but just assume that it's Rabivanian feet. So that gives everybody a little bit of taste of kind of like rabbit stuff. Oh, Better with Bacon says, I like winding down on Sunday with an evening stream. I got to remember to be chill on the evening streams. So now we got character classes, and I noticed that we had 9 character classes with the 12th century rabbits. Originally, I was only going to have 4 in these books when they were going to be much thinner, but since this is going to be more robust, we got 9 in the other, and I believe we have 8 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So right now we have 8. So we do have an additional slot. I mean, not that this book and the other book have to have the exact same number of character classes, but if they were, we have an additional character class slot for something that is heroic age mythological Celtic. So right now we have Bard, Druid, Theon, which is the equivalent of the Ranger, the Feared's Rabbit, which is the equivalent of the Fighter, the Thane, which is the equivalent of the Knight, the Thief. I just added in the Thief this afternoon, Witch, and then Vate. Okay. So if you look at that list, and there's still plenty of time, but if you look at that list and you think there needs to be, is there some other kind of Celtic archetype that we need? Let me consult this book for what it is that we might need to have. Of characters in combat, page 14. This book, when modifying Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, says character classes. Okay. Character classes allowed include fighter, ranger, specialist, mage, druid, bard, and thief, with some changes that are specified in this book. Classes that are not allowed include paladin, cleric, and wizard. Okay, so we've got, ranger, fighter, that checks out. Fighter maps to Feared's Rabbit. Ranger maps to Fionn. Specialist mage, I don't really have. Druid, that maps to druid, 1-to-1. Bard, that maps to bard. Thief, that maps to thief. This one doesn't have the knight type, but that's really important in this world. So this includes Thane. This one over here doesn't include witch, although it does include specialist mage. So specialist mage, rather than adding that in, I'm actually thinking that whatever it says about specialist mage needs to map over to witch. And then thief. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I said I have 8. So Vate is an additional one, as is Thane. So that's where we sit at the moment. Let's see. What book am I'm this one right here. So yeah. So this is it right here. So the book that I'm referencing there, I was like, hey, let's see what we need to do here. Is this is the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition. Here we go. Celtic campaign source book that I'm referencing. So now let's not have any type of illusion about the potential historical accuracy here, just because it's outdated. I mean, new research I'm sure has come in, but I thought it was a fantastic reference book. But we can also keep in mind that it was published in 1992. This is a book from 1992. So there has definitely, I'm sure, been archaeological and historical research about the Celts that might be outdated, that might outdate some information in this book. But I still think it's a fantastic place to start as the feeling of the RPG game. The Celtic bards and archetype, skalds and troubadours contribute, but the archetype is rooted in Celts. So yes, bard is definitely there. What is this? Wait, let me look this up. Fiona referenced that legendary bands of elite Irish warrior hunters from Celtic folklore. Okay, I thought I recognized that word. So, bands of young, freeborn warriors and hunters from Gaelic nobility who lived in the wild, defending Ireland, raiding and training. Oh, actually, I think. Okay, but where do you put something like that? Let me go over here to Wikipedia, because I think fantastic. Innerlight. Small warrior hunter, this is Wikipedia, small warrior hunter bands in Gaelic legend during Iron Age and early Middle Ages. Fionn. Oh, well, that's it. So Fionn. So that's what the word that I was using over here for ranger. So here, Fionn. So is Fianna the band? Fianna? So maybe I was using that word. I was using Fionn. Maybe is that the singular here? As the equivalent of the ranger, because that says now this does say that they are freeborn, often from the nobility. So that might say they might need to be more Thane-like. But this does say for most of the year they lived in the wild, hunting, cattle raiding other clans, training and fighting as mercenaries. So yeah, so if you're so to me, I'm kind of sending that over to ranger. Does that make sense? I mean, it might not, but that was kind of where I was going with that. That, okay, if you're not the civilization kind of person, the Thanes are definitely stringent civilization, high social class warriors. But if you're out on the wilds, then you're that. Okay, so depending on how you want to build them, the specialist mage or witch ought to be a cleric magic user combo. I mean, that's not a bad idea. Witch, we've got some information that we pulled in a long time ago from an OSE witch. We'll have to take a look at that because it's been a while since I have. But I think you were right. This could be a note here with witch. This could be a specialist mage slash cleric kind of hybrid. I don't think that's, I mean, at first pass especially, I don't think that's out of character at all. How about a Fey touched sorcerer? That's more like a Pathfinder. It could be Celtic since they were very obsessed with Fey in the other world. It could be. I mean, hey, let's make a note of that. I'm gonna put that down here. Fey touched sorcerer. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Because I like wizard is not right. And that kind of rejects this thing right here. So, this does say that, hey, a lot of your characters should be warriors. Okay, so this says for rangers. I mean, I don't know what order we want to go through this. I'm not prepared for Bard right now. We've got an OSE Bard, but I haven't gone through Bard completely. So this is going to be a multi-stream kind of process. So this was just details pulled over from Bard, which, as I recall, I think that there was material from the OSE that had a really good Celtic version of the Bard, and I think we pulled that over. So I think it already had a version of the Bard. And it might have been in one of the magazines that were like, okay, now that's supposed to be the Celtic Bard, and I think that might be it. But I'm not ready to talk about that one right now. And then Druid, I think I haven't even found a good Druid here. Ranger, we did. Hey, okay, let's just go to that then. So we'll start at the top again next stream or whatever. We'll just talk about what I'm ready to talk about. So this is what the AD&D book says about Rangers. It says, the Celts were mainly a rural people, free-born farmers and hunters. Because of this, the Ranger is a very appropriate character class for a Celtic setting. The mixture of fighting ability and mystical power possessed by the Ranger is very much in keeping with the tradition of Celtic heroes. The Ranger in a Celtic campaign is only slightly altered from the description in the player's handbook. The changes are as follows. Species enemy. The Ranger may choose a species enemy from among the following: the Sea, the Firbolg, the Fomorians, and the Hags. And I did kind of pull that over, but we need some other ones here. I think it's really interesting. I hadn't thought about this until I read it, but in the 12th century knightly version of Rabivania, the damsels, which are like the Grail damsels, and the witches are in conflict. And so we kind of don't have that here. But now we could. I mean, I'm not a big one for party, like actual, combat between party members and great strife. But if you have, different philosophical outlooks and things like that, that can be interesting from a role-playing perspective. So we kind of have that kind of tension in the 12th century one. We don't have that here as much, but I thought that was interesting that, hey, maybe the Fionn, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, don't really like the witches all that much, and there could definitely be things like hags that you could be fighting, and so them having kind of a special kind of animosity towards something that's like a witch kind of makes sense. And the scaled here are Anorda's brood. Anorda is the big monster in the first story that I've been writing, which is like the mother of all kinds of snake-like beasts. So I think that could work, but we need some other ones, other potential species enemies. But then followers, it says, instead of using table 19, Rangers followers in the player's handbook, Rangers should determine their followers in the same way as a Celtic fighter. Note, however, that all fighters generated have a 50% chance of being Rangers instead. Their equipment is unchanged, and they have the same species enemy as their leader. Did I put that in here? High level followers. Yeah, okay. So determine as an OSE fighter, but you may be getting other, well, not rangers, but you would be getting other, what's the plural of this word? You'd be getting followers or Fianna rather than fighters. Okay, so I kind of ported that over. And then they also automatically share. I'm not using warden anymore. The Fian's species enemy, right? So it's definitely a work in progress. Do I really love hags? Oh, Better with Bacon says I love hags. Yeah, oh yes, there is none of that. Oh, wait, hold on, I'll go back up. Better with Bacon says, I think the Celts should definitely not be Mirite. Yeah, that religion has not even started yet. We are in the mythic past where there is no Mirite religion. So there is no Christian equivalent religion in this world. Everybody is the pagan rabbits. That's why I don't have a cleric that would be like the equivalent of a, Celtic Catholic priest. I don't have the Grail maidens, the damsels. I don't have the Grail maiden equivalent. Yeah, because that religion doesn't even exist, right? So everything in this world is pagan. Everything is pagan. Remember, when druid is the plural word, the singular is droi. Oh, well, now that's something that would be great to add into this one. We'll see if people appreciate that. You could have a chieftain-like class to replace the paladin. Maybe that's what you meant by thane. The thane is the word that I'm using with, if you mean chieftain-like as a noble, I'm using the word thane as kind of like our pagan knight. Better with Bacon loves hags, so it's not going to be the species enemy for him. And then it says treasure, excess treasure over and above the amount the ranger can carry, back in the AD&D book, may be donated to the ranger's tribe or kin group. So they have kind of, they can't, let me make note of that. Do we need in here that the ranger, the Fian, can only acquire as much wealth as he or she can carry, but excess wealth may be donated to, how did they say that? 14. Tribe or kin group, maybe donated to the, they're not in a warren because they're out in the wilderness. But yeah, okay, so let's just use that word, tribe or kin group at the moment. They can be done. You'd still have kin. Okay, my kin are over there. You'd still have that. So let's go with that. So then this is kind of imported then from OSE Rangers. We need some other species enemies. Okay, we've got requirements. Minimum con of 9, minimum wisdom of 9. Again, a lot of this is imported from OSE. Prime requisite strength, hit die 1d8, maximum level 14. Leather, chainmail. I've got to figure out what to do with scale, because scale is also a lot in this, but leather, chainmail, shields allowed. They can use a bunch of stuff. They can use any weapon. I need to get rid of all this stuff about alignment languages, because we're not doing alignment. So this is the hunter of the wild, or the wandering warrior, often living on the outskirts of Rabavanian society and not under the control of one of the alderbucks. Out living on the fringes here. So species enemy, we will have that. Use the word, that may be a copyrighted word. Okay. in this, whereas the 12th century is very low magic, this is higher magic, and so something like the Fae could work. So you get +1 to damage rolls against a chosen enemy type. Further, they can identify signs from these creatures with a 5 and 6 chance. Okay. Only surprised on the roll of a 1. In the wilderness, this is the Fian. Has a 3 and 6 chance of hiding and 3 and 6 chance of moving silently. This will supersede the natural racial ability of the rabbit, but I ended up not giving the rabbits racial hiding and moving silently. I took that out after I added in an actual thief here. So, and then all I gave the rabbits from the species way here was keen hearing. That seemed most appropriate. I mean, you could go all in with a rabbit as a like ultimate kind of thief rogue character that gets racial bonuses to hearing and hide in shadows and all of that. But I decided that no, let's go ahead and add the thief, because I was looking at what other kind of character classes could we have, and I said, all right, let's go ahead and add in the thief. It's gonna. And I was inspired by the thief here, so the thief is different. But okay, I said, all right, let's go ahead and add it in. But in that case, you need to preserve the thief's niche. So okay, so yeah, but the Fian can get increased hiding and moving silently, and then also gets the foraging ability right here. And then tracking as well. Use the Ranger's tracking table, which is standard OSE for this. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I did. So they may only keep their wealth and persons in their mount. You may give it to the kin group, right? Divine magic, but we don't use scrolls and spell books. Starting at 8th level, this is the Fian now, gains the ability to cast spells, which also distinguishes them very much from the Thane, because the Thane being the Knight type. The Pagan Knight, we get spells here, the Druid spell list. The magic and the spirit of root and stream. But we don't have scrolls or spell books because they probably just don't exist. Is intuitive and oral. Yes, this is an oral tradition. So those things probably just don't get that. The clan. Should I be using clan? Where is our? I mean, they're not here. They're not actually at Awarin. That's kind of their idea. So their kin group would be beyond that. So this is the clan 2 ends. I'll put question mark right there. Yeah, so we're talking about the Fae. We could say that. I'm not sure. I don't know if I've used that word in a story yet. This she. I'm pretty sure I used the word Fae, but I that might have been a word that was too Celtic, too connected to Celtic for me. That as far as Earth goes. So, but the same kind of thing. They come from the other world. That was my thinking. Well, no, I do that too. Like, yeah, when you were talking about doing the Santa Claus stuff last, I got totally caught up on the seal of Santa Claus. I will totally get caught up on things, and if it's worth getting right, then it's worth getting right. So we don't have. So this is what this book says about wizards. There's quite a bit here, but let's see what it says, because we don't have wizard. Okay, but I kind of like the witch taking that role. I do. But it says wizard. Although the word of Celtic myth and saga is full of magic and wondrous events, the style of magic is seldom like that found in AD&D. The Celts operated by a different understanding of magic, supernatural agencies, and ogham carvings. It's the runes, right? Played an important role, and while the stereotypical robed wizard was seldom seen, some characters had a magical proficiency as a result of non-human blood or spirit gift. And actually, I think there's something we need to add in here, because I was looking at this afternoon, and there are rolling for character gifts and divine gifts, and this does seem like a kind of old school kind of thing. Now, whether or not some people consider AD&D old school, a lot of people will not, but let me use the term a bit more loosely here. That you roll for some kind of character gift, which could be bad or good, that has some type of Celtic flavor to it. And I kind of like that, and I'm thinking about importing that over. So you might have some kind of magical ability as determined on a roll on a table during character creation. I don't get too deep into it because I like character creation to be easy. But that might be something that kind of separates this from other things. If you roll and you have some type of, this would be non-rabbit blood, of course, some kind of blood of Fae or some kind of birth gift. Organized colleges of magic, guilds, magical supply shops, and other conventions sometimes assumed to exist in standard AD&D campaigns have no place in the world of the Celts. Likewise, scrolls, spellbooks, and other such written material were not native to the Celtic world, though the Ogham was sometimes used to make magic in a similar way to Norse runes. On the whole, though, the Celts avoided writing, believing that the habit of recording things on paper not only weakened the memory, but also dishonored the things that were written by allowing them to fade from the mind. So no keeping wizards to a minimum here. A few wizards did exist in the Celtic world. One of them was the prototype form of the legendary Merlin, but to me, I'm like moving that kind of over to the druidic kind of thing. More often than not, the wizards in Celtic stories were evil NPCs like Morgan Le Fay in Arthurian legend. -2 reaction rolls to those aware of the character's representation. Says, necromancy and conjuration, summoning magics are so rare. Necromancy and conjuration or summoning magics are so rare as to be practically unknown in the Celtic world, and spells of those schools are not normally available to Celtic characters. So that's something we could add. Okay, so if we're trying to bring the witch over as kind of specialty wizard, we do have an OSE kind of witch information here. Oh, we found something that could be referenced. We've got a link here. But we do want to say that, if we're constructing a spell list, no necromancy, conjuration, or summoning. Spells. Unless they travel far to learn them to the Eastern Mediterranean, for instance, specialist mages may appear at the DM's discretion, but the available schools of magic should always be borne in mind. So our priest class also becomes different. So that's what it says about wizards. Not much. Runesmith? The Fae? Or Fae? I'll have to check my spelling. You might want to bring in a smith class. The ability to make magical weapons and equipment is a huge part of the Celtic mythology, Irish to Germanic. A runesmith? And that is a major part of the story that I am writing now, and I'm going to be serializing the smith character. So that's interesting. That could be the smith, because it's a whole lot of effort, because that's actually part of the magic that we write here. We looked at some of the GURPS magic item creation as smithing. And I want to try to port that over to something like an OSE environment. That's a large part of the magic right there. My question about that is, when somebody brings up like the smith or something, are they a good adventuring class? Are you going to want to adventure with them? Because, bard, druid, Fionn, feared rabbit, thane, thief, witch, vate. And Vate is questionable at the moment. But I think I did a reasonable job of making them adventuring oriented. Is the character in the book that is the smith also goes on adventures because he's also a warrior, and he used to go and get different things, different components to smith with. And so there's always a reason to go adventuring. So the story focuses on the adventuring, and then he comes back with the object and does the smithing. So the smithing is largely off camera. It's the adventuring that's on camera. So is there a way to be sure to make sure that if you have which is, the same problem with like an alchemist or something like that, that they're suitable for adventuring? This says the priests. In a Celtic campaign, the priest group consists of druids, bards, and seers. So here, when we're talking about priests, druid, check, definitely going to have druid. I thought I had more notes on druid, but I guess I don't. But druid, that's a big one. Vate. Oh, and bard, right? Yeah, and bard. That's a big one too. So that is our classification of priests. So the druids were the priesthoods of the Celts, and the Celts in a Celtic campaign will always be outsiders. And clerics in a Celtic campaign will always be outsiders, perhaps Christian missionaries from the Romanized world. The comments regarding paladins early in this chapter apply with equal force to clerics. Oh, I'm going to skip over druids because I'm going to need to dive into a whole lot more into druids. Well, okay. Shell Mel says, I like the idea of the gift. Okay, so maybe we do need to include that. Could it also be earned? Maybe. If you're earning a gift, though, it needs to be a different table, because this table can, give you something like ugly or unlucky. Like you could roll. So on this, you roll on your character gifts, and you get bad luck, blood feud, kinless, ugly, guess, no gift, courage, good luck, handsome, status, mixed blood, Reastarlahe, I don't know what that is, seer, or magical affinity. So if you're going to earn it later, then probably let's not put kinless or bad luck or ugly on there. But it does seem very like if you're this party of Celtic adventurers, potentially having some weird stuff that you were born with, whether that is good for you or bad for you, either way, that could set you off on a world of adventure. So maybe we need to do that. To whom gods wish to destroy. Okay, I have not seen that. I don't know. So let's skip druids. Druids, we're going to have to take a whole deep dive in. I'm still trying to get my whole kind of character classes together and my notes together and thinking about them as a whole. Bards, kind of the same way. I'm not quite ready. We got some bard information here that I think was imported from someplace, but we'll come back to bards as well. Let's go to thieves, because it says rogues. As already mentioned, bards are treated as priests in a Celtic campaign, so they're not the rogues that are AD&D. But it says thieves. So I did try to adjust thieves. So this is class. This is the thief. Modified OSE thief. And oh, how much the thief gives us much angst anyway. But this is the thief. Thieves in Celtic campaigns are very much as described in the player's handbook. However, there are a few adjustments as follows. Reactions. Thieves are not regarded with the usual tolerance in the Celtic world, as they are in most standard fantasy campaigns. A character known to be a thief suffers a -2 penalty on all reaction rolls. So this is the deal with the thieves, or they're not as accepted. Okay. And then this also says Celtic thieves do not attract followers. So you're not going to be putting together a whole thief thieves guild here. It says weapons allowed. Celtic thieves can use any of the weapons and armor available to fighters. So armor any, but see armor penalties, weapons any. Okay, so however, armor heavier than leather hampers a thief's ability to move silently and climb walls. Penalties are -5% for ring mail, which I'm not putting ring mail in. So I got to look at the whole. We had to do equipment here and like what's Like, this is before people in 1992, people still thought there were such things as ring mail. And of course, this is fantasy, but what do we do here? Negative 15% for scale or chainmail, negative 20% for heavier armor types, and negative 25% cumulative with armor for a shield. If a shield is slung over the character's back, the penalty is reduced to negative 10% for climbing walls only. Abilities: thieves do not have a thieves' cant and may not use scrolls or read languages. So I went ahead and added the thieves in because I think that it offers a useful different kind of archetype in this, but I like them being pretty limited. Oh, Shelmel says, bad luck, ugly curse, and such could 100% be earned for bad behavior or consequences. Oh, well, yes. But yeah, another table for earning is a good idea. Oh, yes. Okay, yes. Now, that's a good point. That could certainly be a consequence. When you're talking about, well, I guess you can earn a penalty. You absolutely could. Absolutely could. But yeah, I wouldn't want you to... There would need to be a different way to acquire the penalties or the benefits in play differently than just randomly rolling in the beginning. Yeah. But I'm going to, maybe the random roll in the beginning would be a good idea. So maybe there's some particular Celtic and rabbit kinds of things to add in. I'm kind of feeling like that needs to be a roll that's made during character creation. I don't think that's too much, and I think it could be fun. I don't think it's too much. Maybe I'll work on that before next stream. New character class. So there is a new character class. Maybe we look at this one and then we call it a night. We will see. So we do have a new character class called the Mantis or the Seer. Okay. That's the Mantis, singular and plural, also known to classical historians as Vates. And wasn't it Caesar who used the term Vates? I may be wrong about that. But that's what I got, Vate right here. Vate. Let's just use Vate or Seer. This is our third category of the cleric type, of the priest type, rather. And this is what it says. It says, we're a caste of diviners and seers who formed a part of the Celtic priesthood along with druids and bards. Now, see, I often have the witches use divination magic. And so as I'm writing this and as we go with here and the witches, I don't want this to step on the witches. Because in the story, the witches do often use divination. That's part of that. As I've been sitting here working on this iteration, I said that like I was dictating, which I frequently do when I'm putting these notes together. The witch, if that drifts to specialty mage / cleric, they need to have divination ability just because they do that in the story quite a bit. So I'm concerned about making sure that the seer class itself does not overshadow them as far as niche protection goes. Hey, Tomocrat, welcome. Vates, so that's how we pronounce that. The Vates, I guess that makes sense. The Vates, Vates, so that's Vate. I always appreciate those kinds of corrections. Okay, but this says, but this also says in here for AD&D that the Vates are not, the seers here, are not ideally suited to adventuring. So, I mean, can we make them, if it's not ideally suited to adventuring, I don't really want to put them here. Hey, I'm going to pick something that's not really ideally suited to adventuring, but this says, not ideally suited to adventuring, and the DM should consider carefully whether to allow them as a player character in a campaign or whether to keep them strictly as NPCs. So this says the Vates, the seers, must be humans. Intelligence and wisdom scores must both be 12 or greater. Both are prime requisites. In addition, a character must have the birth gift of seer in order to become a seer. So that's a roll here. Oh, really? Inner Light says that Vatican is loosely based on that same root, I think. Vate and Vatican. That's interesting. okay, but so in order to even qualify for this, I mean, so that also is what kind of makes it weird to me, is that, okay, there's going to be some element of this character creation that's determined by this random gift. Of course, your stats are also, your prime stats are also determined by a random roll. But if you want to be this seer, I don't even know where that went. You also have to roll on the gift in order to get that, which is, okay, is it a D20 roll? It's a D20 roll. So there's only a 5% chance that you're going to roll seer anyway. And then hey, look, I got seer. And then if the class that's open to you is not particularly suitable for adventuring, you might not want to use it anyway. So, okay, especially now, right now, I don't think I have this as a gated class like that, but it could. But anyway, this says you have to have rolled that seer birth gift in order to even qualify as one of the Vates. Proficiencies, the seers gain weapon and non-proficient weapon proficiencies as priests do. Let me turn off this heater here. About to die, and it's hot in here. Okay, so weapon and non-weapon proficiencies as priests. Weapons allowed. They are not permitted to use armor. They may use a dagger, staff, or sling. So what did I have up here? Where are my notes? Okay, so minimum. This is OSE-ified. Wisdom. Hit die D4. Maximum level 14. Armor none. Right, armor none. Weapons, club, dagger, staff, sling. I mean, why not add club in there? I think that was the thinking there. But this says dagger, staff, or sling. But okay, why not club? Especially early on. Spells allowed. The seers have major access to the sphere of divination. So they are the major diviners. So, major diviners. But, like I said, in the world, the witches often do this. Witches often use divination magic. Must think about niche protection. Okay. Oh, no. Well, that would make sense because I say that I thought that word, okay, that vates, then if it's Latin, that would make sense for Caesar to have used that word when describing the Celts. That would make sense if it's a Latin root and then to go to the Vatican. That would make sense. So yeah, Stray says Vatican comes from Latin meaning hill of prophecy, so that tracks. So Inner Light says, the other way, Vatican Hill was the palace where the Vates lived. Vaticenia translates to oracle and prophecies. Ah! Well, that's fascinating. I didn't even connect. Yeah, because I was pronouncing it wrong anyway, so I didn't even connect that to a Latin root, even though I was thinking in terms of that was Caesar's name for them. Great Old Ones channel says spear was a ubiquitous item used as a walking stick as much, if not more than a staff. So, could go staff. Let me just make a note of that. Could go spear too. Although, question mark. Although we have a lot about spears and their use by the Thanes. Throwing spears. The throwing attacks. Okay, so spells allowed. Okay, we're just saying that the Vates have major access to the sphere of divination and major access to all wizard spells of the school of greater divination, just as though this was a sphere of priest spells. So, okay, so that's divination, but then also I'll have to check that meaning inside AD&D. I don't remember. Major diviners access to AD&D cleric divination. and wizard greater divination schools. But they've got to have other things to do other than just sit around and prophesy, right? Just as though they were priest spells. They may use all magic items usable by druids, as well as all magic items that have a divination function. Okay, so that's note. All may use all magic items acceptable to druids, and all related to divination. Divination. Okay. Granted powers. Seers progress as clerics on the priest experience levels table and roll 4-sided dice for hit points. They save as priests, but gain a bonus of +2 to all saving throws against magic of the illusion and phantasm and enchantment charms type. They also gain +2 to all dice rolls to detect any type of falsehood, lies or forgery or concealment, secret doors, hidden treasures. And they also command respect from the rest of Celtic society. A seer gains a bonus of +1 per 3 levels on encounter reactions with Celtic humans. So that's what it says. That's the only additional class that's in here. Very divination focused. Is that fun? I don't know. I tried to also work on stuff that was inspired by another character in the story that I was writing. So there's some healing elements in here. But then again, that light healing also goes with the witch. So I'm concerned. In fact, sometimes I even called the witches seers. So I'm for some of them working with divination. So I don't know. I gotta think about it. This is this is the inverted keen. The inverted keen, which is an ancestral healing. Once per day. I mean, this was a really special thing that happened in the story. But they could be like the only ones that are also able to actually cast something like Cure Light Wounds. So I'm thinking about that. There's still a lot, I think, to think about with the seer type class here. Celtic seer would be a faith accent on the I. That's fa or faf. The word is also in the original root for fey. It makes sense. But okay. But is there anything that I'm missing there? We mentioned something like a fey-touched sorcerer. That was brought up. But I do think that's pretty complete. You know, when I was originally thinking about this and just having 4 character classes, they probably would have been Bard, Druid, Witch, and Thane or something. But this is much more complete, and by the time the whole book gets done and laid out, like I was learning with the cultists one, by the time it's all laid out and printed and stuff like that, it needs to endure. It needs to be kind of major, because there's going to be a lot of stories, especially since I've decided to serialize the stories that need to connect with this RPG. So having a more robust character class kind of system makes sense. But also, so we said, just as another possible example, let me just say over here. So this is Fey touched sorcerer. We still have some kind of problem with the seer potentially, because we want to be sure that seer and witch are sufficiently distinguished. But then, so this is other possible classes. Other possible classes. Runesmith. That's the smith. Other possible classes inspired by Celtic archetypes. Fey touch sorcerer, runesmith. There's another one that we were talking about. Oh, what I was going to say, I remember what I was going to say. And again, I don't know if this is a good idea. I'm just typing out notes and kind of the brainstorm. We talked about some kind of chieftain. chieftain or noble. I don't know how that works, because like the thanes, the high level thanes, are often going to be like the nobles, right? So how often do you have like a king or chieftain or something like that is not the thief, the thane? How often do you have a king or noble or whatever who is not of the thane class, or at least a high level Feared's rabbit or something, just based on the amount of emphasis that is put on the warrior society? So is this a situation where you would even need to have like a noble kind of class? I got one thing that just inspired me to think about something else. Let me grab a book. Let me look that up. I like the Rune Priest better than the Rune Smith, but I have a Warhammer on the brain. So I'm making about that Rune Smith, the Smith, or Rune Priest, something like this. I mean, potential problem here is how many nobles, kings in Celtic society would not be of the warrior class. And I'll say, and are suitable as an adventuring class. Because if you say, yes, there's this niche that we need to have, but they don't adventure. Like, also make sure this is adventuring. And like I need for this up here, I need to understand this Celtic archetype better. Example from stories, like who do we go with that? Wait, hold on. So my thought was, well, oh, I'm pulling from the wrong place. Maybe it was in the Fighter's Handbook, which is brown. I got a whole bunch of things to put back in my library. In a historical context, the Fife was the prophet or visionary of the tribe. They were often associated with the Druid class, but their specific role is to see the future, often through rituals, trance states, or interpreting omens. Well, that sounds like what we're doing with the Vate, right? I just love the idea of a rabbit wearing antlers and looking like a jackalope. Yeah, we need to have that. But wasn't one of the, because, it does say in this, and it seems to be true, that a lot of the characters in a Celtic campaign should be warrior-like, right? Should be warriors. And that also makes sense from my storytelling about this world and all of that too. So yeah, the Feared's rabbit, the thief, but actually we only have 3 of them here. I mean, we're actually kind of really heavy kind of spiritually. So if we want to be warrior heavy, we want to have more warrior options. Maybe we should have that. Maybe there should be a different type of warrior that's not a non-adventuring noble, because we have Feared's rabbit, which is our fighter equivalent. Basically anything goes. Okay, anything goes. And also from the stat perspective, you can have whatever and play a Feared's rabbit. Play a fighter from the game OSE game perspective. If you want to play the more restricted noble warrior, which has some advantages, some disadvantages, pagan knight equivalent play Thane. But all of these others are not warrior-like except for the ranger equivalent. There's a ranger equivalent. So the bard is different. The druid is different. The thief is different. Now, the thief does have access to more weapons than the standard OSE thief. So that's kind of, halfway. And ranger, that's kind of different. but wasn't there seemed to be, that if I recall, some different warrior kits. So let's look at the fighter kits here in the Fighter's Handbook and see if there's another one to make it a bit more warrior heavy. What are the kits that we have here? Warrior kits. Okay, Amazon. I'm just looking in the fighter book. Amazon. I don't really know if that fits. And of course, this book is rather ad hoc with a bunch of different types. Okay, I mean, Barbarian. I mean, could you go Barbarian? This is not the Barbarian of history, but the Barbarian of fantasy fiction. He's a powerful warrior from the culture on the fringes of civilization. Left his home to sell. So could you adapt something like a? I mean, that also has a whole bunch of different, like what does barbarian mean in this Celtic one? Since barbarian means when like Caesar is talking about stuff, the people outside of Rome, right? So all these people would be barbarians, right? The barbarian. Yeah, I mean, the runes would be competent with weapons and armor as well. Yeah, I wonder if there's something like this anywhere we can find. So barbarian. I mean, let me just make note of this. This is just notes anyway. But I mean, and that being that everybody is a barbarian, and I also kind of wanted to draw. So maybe this isn't a good idea, but I will write it down as a note anyway. Barbarian. I was kind of thinking that some of the barbarian elements would be drawn by the ranger, since they're the ones who live out away from civilization alone, So I was kind of thinking that if you want the kind of barbaric person, you might. It's not like Conan, but the non-civilizational person that you're supposed to be picking up, the Fionn, the ranger. Beast Rider, no, that didn't work. Berserker. Berserker. Now, could you go barbarian or better? Berserker? I always want to use a Z. Berserker? Maybe? Celtic kind of berserker? I haven't got that in the story yet. But you could maybe have a barbarian berserker type? That's interesting. The Cavalier, we have that equivalent in Thane, not mounted. Gladiator, that's not working. Myrmidon. The Myrmidon is the ultimate soldier. Soldiering is his life. He may be a high-ranking officer or a career sergeant. I don't know if Myrmidon really works. No, but actually what made me think about getting this book was noble warrior. There could be noble warrior. But although the nobility, that is also Thane. Let's look at this. So Inner Light says berserker instead of barbarian. That's more Germanic. That one could be a winner. That one could be. But I wanted to, what about this idea of noble warrior? When we're talking about the nobility and another kind of warrior class, I mean, I still think Thane is probably covering that. Furor is the Celtic rage fighter, but that's Alexa. Did I just set off everybody's thing? Speaker? Okay, but this is Noble Warrior, because I was wondering if Noble Warrior was in the Paladin book or if it was in the Fighter book here. Better with Bacon says just go with Fury. I'm kind of thinking, and especially as far as an adventurer goes, Berserker kind of goes with that. Okay, see you later. Yeah, we're not going to be here too much longer, but I am enjoying. Also, an advantage to kind of the evening streams is I can go a little bit longer, and don't have to, if I don't have as much to do, to get off the stream in the morning. I'm enjoying this, so I'm enjoying this kind of evening stream. So this says Noble Warrior. This is a kit for the fighter from the AD&D Fighter's Handbook. It says, this character is of the nobility and theoretically represents everything the ruling class stands for. In classic medieval fantasy, this means chivalry, the protection of women, those who want to be protected. That is, it's not a bad idea to try to protect. Oh, it's a bad idea to try to protect a woman warrior anxious to prove herself in combat, and especially upholding the rights of the ruling class to rule and upholding the rights of other classes to serve. Noble warriors in most campaigns are called knights or squires, though specific campaigns may have different designations and be based on different sources than medieval European history. To be a noble warrior, a character must have a strength and constitution score of 13 or better. It's what comes of being forced to train in heavy plate armor for so many years. Well, okay, so I got their role. Let me skip through here. Let's look at actually what their statistics are. Secondary skills. All noble warrior characters must take the groom skill. Squires are expected to care for their knights' horses, and don't forget this skill when they themselves become knights. Weapon proficiencies. Unless the campaign deals with a culture unlike medieval Europe, all noble warriors take the following proficiencies: longsword or bastard sword. Player choice: lance, player choice of type, usually jousting lance, and horseman's flail, or horseman's mace, player choice. The last proficiency may be used for a weapon of the warrior's choice, or to specialize in one of the other required choices. Non-weapon proficiencies, okay, etiquette, heraldry, animal handling, blah, 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 hunting. He cannot have armor less protective than... I think this is covered by Thane. I think we're really being covered by Thane here. No need to draw down on a real-world element. I'm trying to remember to be chill. You've been enjoying this? This is more chill than the morning. The morning I designed, whether or not it ended up that way, I designed the morning grind stream to pep me up in the mornings, which it often does. But I'm often kind of scrambling, especially now with my new schedule, to do the morning stream. So that's why a lot of cool stuff could happen in 2026. But having the chill evening stream is great. Okay, so non-weapon proficiencies, whatever. Okay, you got to have a certain level of equipment, but we said that for Thane as well. Get a little bit more starting gold. Special hindrances that you have sworn an oath. Yeah, I think this is covered by Thane. I think this is that's covered by Thane. So other options include pirate or outlaw. That doesn't work. Samurai. That's not what we're going for. Savage. The savage is a tribesman technologically and culturally far more primitive than even the barbarian or the berserker, who is very much more in tune with the natural world. A savage can be an honorable jungle vine swinger raised by animals, a very dirty and primitive warrior who lives in the wattle huts and fights with bone weapons, a breathtakingly beautiful native princess from a culture which the characters consider impossibly primitive. Swashbuckler, wilderness warrior. This hero represents some tribe, either civilized or barbarian, living in a dangerous, threatening, or unusual wilderness environment. I feel like there's a lot of overlap between all of these. Later RPG Gen Exile. Yeah, it is supposed to be that. Right, yes. I think the Thane is a good representative of the Paladin replacement noble warrior class. How about the Raider class? Someone who focuses on light armor, swift attacks, and quick movements. I actually had the term Raider instead of Thief. So actually, I think we're covered there because remember here, the Thief doesn't have any type of weapon or armor restrictions. Now, if they want to move silently, then they do. If they're wearing if they're heavily armored, they're going to get penalties to move silently and all of that. But they're not technically restricted if they want to fight. So actually, at one point, no joke, instead of Thief, I was like, I need another term for that, and I had Raider. You think this could return to Raider? So I'll make note of that. Could return to the term Raider. Like, no joke. Like this afternoon, I was removing the term Raider because I Thief, and then I went to Raider, and then I started moving back. So this could return to the term Raider. Maybe that's better because we were already talking about how the thieves, like it's talking about right here, the thieves are often, viewed with suspicion and all of that. So this becomes more like the scout kind of character. And that way somebody, because I was actually wondering, so why would you want to play the thief? Because you kind of have more restrictions than the AD&D thief. And you're culturally not kind of connected here. So what do you do? So maybe that we use Raider, we make the thief class the Raider. Oh, hey, okay, you're back. Great. Wilderness Warrior. Okay, yeah, I mean, it's okay. So there wasn't a whole lot there. Let me look at one other book. Let's look at the Paladin book. But really, I'm kind of thinking that if we want another class, it is our Berserker kind of class right here. Unless somebody can come up with a good, like, Celtic example of the Fey Touch Sorcerer that we need to draw from. Paladin Handbook. Hey, Dave. Welcome. Okay, let's see if there are any. I don't think there is, but let's just see if there's anything that we should look at from the Paladin that inspires a different type of warrior type. But I still, I think Thane is covering this. Kits on page 44. I remember loving this Paladin book. The Elf book and the Paladin book, I think, were the ones that saw the most use. The complete guides, I think the Paladin book and the Elf book saw the most use. Paladin, true Paladin, Chevalier. Where I've been over that. Divinate, devoutly religious. Divinates are the military branch of their church and consider themselves soldiers of their gods. Their religious discipline imbues them with a clear sense of purpose. Now, I think this is going to be something that will give us greater differentiation between religious warriors and the 12th century storyline. Envoy, skilled in diplomacy as well as combat. Equerry. The Equerry is a master horseman with a natural affinity for mounts of all species. Errant. The Errant is an independent warrior who roams the countryside searching for adventure and offering his assistance to any good beings in need. I think this is much more the storyline of the Knights. Expatriate. Like the Errant, the Expatriate has no permanent home, wandering from place to place in search of adventure and acceptance. However, the Expatriate is a nomad by circumstances, not by choice, a warrior in exile. Renounced his allegiance to officials or institutions that originally granted his paladinhood. Ghost Hunter. The Ghost Hunter is obsessed with finding and destroying evil undead. Inquisitor. The Inquisitor has devoted his life to finding and eliminating practitioners of evil magic. The Medician, or the Medican, seeks to treat the sick, alleviate suffering, and save lives. The Militarist. The Militarist is a battlefield virtuoso. War is a sacred act, he believes, and chance for spiritual redemption. Now, let's definitely remember this book when we're doing back to the 12th century Knights and talking about like the religious orders. Squire. Votary. Like divinates, the devoutly religious votaries function as soldiers of their church, but the votaries are far more militant, considering devotees of false religions the epitome of evil. Worm Slayer. Okay, all right. So that's what we got here. This is okay. So Inner Light says there are a few stories of fallen druids that embrace magic taught to them by underwater monsters. Oh, well, that's interesting. Well, that is interesting because I do have like an alternate druidic order that's going to come up with. I don't know if it's, but something like that. It's like these are our druids, and then there are some other druids who have some other weird beliefs, and so that could come in there. But they are the bad guys in that particular story. Like, are you that for the player characters? Okay, well, I have enjoyed this. Yes, I think that maybe a lot more evening streams, or at least some more evening streams. Let's not commit to a lot more, but doing some evening streams then, as we continue to work on some old school essentials, game design, and also index card RPG game design, maybe some Shadow Dark. I'd love to convert this over to some of those. Maybe we start doing that in the evenings here with some kind of chill evening stream. So I really appreciate your being here with me. I'm going to run. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Sleep safely, sleep well, and then tomorrow morning, go forth, be creative, and be constructive. So I will see everybody Wednesday. I'm not sure about the time. Probably morning, but I don't know. So we're working the new schedule. We will see. So see everybody later. Have a wonderful day, wonderful evening. Bye, everybody.